think this is working right now. Let's see. I've got some audio levels. Checking out things. I guess we'll do like a little mini recording here. Hey, welcome. This is Mike Cornwell. This is in my studio. I've got kind of my camera's repositioned a little bit. I'm getting ready to do a recording for a. I have a leadership academy, if you don't know, and I am releasing a new course called the Leadership Awakening. And it is a course that's geared to awaken your leadership. And I'm getting ready to do kick off some videos here. And right now I'm waiting for some coffee. So I figured, you know what, I might as well do a little bit of live streaming, do a little bit of recording, and take a look at the books in my library. Let's see, you know what, let me get the camera and move it a little bit so you can see even more of this. So we can chat about a bunch of different kind of stuff. Okay. So this is my specifically what I would consider kind of the core of my leadership library. I mean, I have this part right here, and then I've got another part over there. And the part that's over there is all business oriented. Let me see, I can switch the camera angle real quick. Yeah, this stuff over here is all business books. And let me see, you know, I might be able to actually turn this to a little bit. I'll have to reposition all this stuff anyways, which is fine. Okay, yeah, see, there you go. So yeah, this is the other side of my library. And you can certainly see I've got quite a bit of gaps. There's certainly a bunch more books I should be filling in these shelves. I've read most of these books. Some of them I've kind of scanned because they're not really warrant being such a big book. Here's an example, right? I'm looking at this now. This Blue Ocean Shift. I actually recently got an MBA, and you know, they talked about this like, oh, finding a blue ocean strategy, and I'm sitting there looking at this book. This book is so big. It's 410 pages. It's really not that complicated. I really don't think a book needed to be this big. A book that might make more sense to be this big would be something like this. Raising Capital, i.e. Venture capital, like understanding the venture capital space. There's a lot more to it than that. Or something like this. I mean, this is kind of a classic, The Intelligent Investor. But we're not really here to talk about that kind of stuff. I do think there's actually a lot of leadership secrets that are embedded in here. I had to make a decision on where I'm going to put sales books. And I've come to find through the consumption of many sales books and marketing books that we're really just talking about influence. If we're talking about influence, we're really talking about leadership. And there's all sorts of stuff like, I'd say, this positioning book, right? How to be seen and heard in the overcrowded marketplace. One wouldn't think, you know, the power of the name, repositioning the competition. All of these things is actually about influence. What it is it's trying to influence the mind. The magic of thinking. Yeah, this also has kind of like, we'll call it success books are kind of over here. But let's go over here. A little bit more interesting of a library. This is a library to me that matters. That one over there is the superficial world that most people occupy, and you know, it's concerned with making money. It's concerned with surviving in a business marketplace, all that kind of yada stuff. This is different. This is this section here. Like, I've got spiritual philosophy here. I've got from every major religion. Although I don't have a Bible in here. That's kind of funny because my Bible's on my desk there. But I've also got a reasonably good sample of Western philosophy. So everything from the Republic to the Wealth of Nations. I should have in here. I'm not seeing it. I don't know where it is. I had the Communist Manifesto, And I would say that that should be in Western philosophy, whether or not you agree in the Communist Manifesto or not. Um, I mean, it's an interesting read, but I mean, it belongs in the stack of Western philosophy by any stretch. You know, it was kind of like a direct look at something like Adam Smith's books. Um, Epicurus, Seneca. I've even got some, you know, As a Man Thinketh. This is kind of a fun book that, you know, I don't know how many people think about it or know it, but see the effect of thought on circumstances, thought and character, visions and ideals. This is a really good little book. You know, in fact, I'm going to throw this on my desk. I wouldn't mind reading that book a little bit. But I've also got Beyond Good and Evil. Apparently I have 2 of them. I also got this nice little Albert Einstein's book on relativity and the special and general theory. This is, oh nice, I just found a photo of my family when we're going hiking. This is definitely not light reading. But I don't know why I put it in the philosophy area. Probably because I think it's a little on edge, personally. Oh, so controversial. Saying science may not be proven, or certain sciences. Over here, on this top part, this is what I would call my influence section. This is primarily, I split out as part of a matter of useful category. I split out the difference between influence and leadership. And in my course, I go in this in depth about the difference between the two. And there's the long and short of it is that influence comes from leadership. Leadership was I believe definitively was the thing that was created that existed first, and then influence came from there. That influence itself is derived from leadership. Whether or not that's true, it's kind of irrelevant, but the two are so similar that, you know, it's worth knowing. And I've got an influence section, and then I have a leadership section. And the only thing that's really different between that section and this section is that this has leadership in the title. It's you know, I've got Jocko Willnick's book here, you know, leadership strategies and tactics. Okay, of course this is influence, but it's leadership. I've also got, let me see if I stand over here, if you see. I've also got books like Conscious Leadership, which, you know, fun fact, my leadership book actually was originally named Conscious Leadership for 2 years. And then when I was getting ready to release it, John Mackey, the CEO of Whole Foods, created his book, and it's called Conscious Leadership. So I am actually appreciative that happened, because I ended up renaming my book to Influence and Leadership, and I think it's actually a better title, personally. The reason why I was going to name it Conscious Leadership is very different than this book. Conscious Leadership, this book is about conscious capitalism, which is just this concept of way of doing business as like a conscious individual. I named mine Conscious Leadership because it was about applying leadership consciously rather than unconsciously, which I argue most people are actually doing. The people who are probably doing leadership more intentionally are people who are talking about leadership directly, like very specifically. You know, actually, there is a couple books here that are not, there is a couple books here that are not specifically leadership. Like I've got Seth Godin's Tribes book. And the primary reason for this has to do, I mean, you could call this an influence, but this is like very specifically calling out groups of people and moving groups of people. And so there's a couple books here that relate to that and team building of sorts. I think my coffee is on its way right now. So yeah, I wanted to do this recording, just sit here and chat about some of these books. Let's see, let me interrupt my coffee messenger here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Got a looky-loo peeper coming in. So let's see. Let's take a look at some of these other books. Um, the influence books are really interesting. It's one of those things couldn't be more excited about our Leadership Academy because it gives me an opportunity to bring and distill these kinds of informations down to the real essence of what it is and hand it over to people to make it really simple. What our world has done is people have become experts in particular niches of influencing people in some particular way. And there's tons and tons and tons of people. So this right here, What's Your Story? This is really a marketing book. So it probably belongs over there. The only reason why I didn't is it's so over the top about, here we go, using storytelling to gain powerful competitive advantage in today's increasingly skeptical marketplace. What year was this written? This recording right now is in 2023. You're probably thinking, oh, this must be like now, right? Super skeptical marketplace. Let's see here. They should be skeptical because people are using influence like this on them. All right, let's see here. 2008. That's quite a long time ago. But these kind of books, in the kind of the entirety of what is actually presented in influence books is showing people various slices of influence and how it can be done. I mean, here's stories right here. Here, this Key Person of Influence book, which, boy, is this book dirty as heck right now. It might be one of the most simple reads. It is basically a straightforward process of creating a influence belief about you, that you are a person who can influence. That in and of itself is influencing people. It involves the combination of story and packaging, order of events, things like that. I also have stuff like games people play. Friend sent me this. I've only read a little bit of it. You can see my current bookmark is not super far into it. But I get the gist of it, which is basically here's the back of the book. It says we think we're relating to other people, but actually we're all playing games. Da-na-na-na-na. I just love this like seductive cover. The interesting thing about this, I don't even know if this person realizes that these kind of books in particular, before I'm kind of going on some small tangents. These kind of books, really, I'd say almost all of these books in this whole section here, right? They're actually all engaged in the activity of trying to influence your beliefs. They want to shift and modify what you believe and what you value and try to align it. So, this section here, kind of Western philosophy, it's taking, it's trying to use logic as the means of doing that. And in most cases, it's building an endless chain. And logic, as to make it really simple, logic is really a chain of connections of points that make sense together. And so, you eventually get to the point that you should believe something like this right here, the web of belief. This is trying to get you to believe that beliefs are about like being a web. That's the end. That's the end point. The spoiler's the title, the web of belief. And the way that it's going to do that is it's going to spend all these pages going in a linear fashion. It might give you kind of these different points, but it's going to connect these things all together, and it might, do some parallels, but eventually it's going to collapse down to a single point that you should believe that belief comes from a web, um, a web of interrelating thoughts. Um, this right here is just engaged of using logic to influence you. This right here, which is the spiritual section, look at this book. I have not. I got it because I read what are the most famous, most impactful philosophy books of all time, and here's one of them. I've got two different ones by this author. It is by the same author. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, it's two different authors, but look how thick this book is. This is not an easy read. There's no pictures here. I mean, it's not fooling around. Now, it is doubly big because one side is in Arabic and then the other side is in English. But it's called The Metaphysics of the Healing. And this book is, I don't actually even know. Let's see here. Avicenna, Ibacina, from 980 to 1037 AD, was the most systematic, thorough, and influential of the Islamic philosophers. His metaphysics is the climactic conclusion part of his magnum opus, The Healing. As in his physics and mathematics, the existent is once again Avicenna's main subject in the metaphysics. But while in the physics he examines the existent inasmuch as it is subject to motion and rest, and in the mathematics inasmuch as it is quantified or relates to measure and quantity, in his metaphysics, Avicenna deals with the existent as such, not in as much as it is either in motion or quantified, but as much as it is existent, without qualification. Woo! Woohoo! This is a dense book. That was the about of the book. I can't even tell you what that said, but I read some stuff on it, and it's supposed to be pretty good. If you like that kind of stuff. Here's another one I actually did start reading. It's a very similar kind of book by a different author, another Islamic philosopher, and The Incoherence of Philosophers is what it's called. Ranks among the most important works of one of the most fascinating thinkers in the history of Islam. Let's see here. Okay. The Incoherence of Philosophers, itself pitched at a very sophisticated philosophical level, contends that although Muslim philosophers such as Al-Farabi and Ibn Sina, which is that person right there, boasted of absolutely unassailable arguments on crucial matters of theology and metaphysics, they could not, in fact, deliver on their claims. So I guess this is an antithesis to that. It's a smaller book, so it's probably more right. Additionally, maintain al-Ghazali, some of their assertions represented mere disguised heresy and unbelief. The great 12th century I'm not even going to finish reading that. Don't worry about it. Interesting book. I've got 3 Tao Te Chings. I love this book. It's just such a fun read. The Tao Te Ching. It's the we'll call it the Bible for Taoism. That's the way to describe it. Then I got a bunch of other kind of stuff. I do have some Bible stuff. I've got the Bhagavad Gita here. But anyways, that's kind of a little bit of a tour of my library. I'm going to go drink my coffee, and then I'm going to get ready, and I'm going to do some classes. See you around.